Over the next week, I'm going to be using an iPhone SE 2020. I want to see if older budget iPhones can still stand up 4 years later, or if the standard 2-year upgrade cycle still rings true. And can a status symbol like the iPhone be something that we as a culture start to move past towards a better future? Over the next week, I'm going to find that out. So it is currently day one. I have the iPhone 10 here, which is what I was using because this phone completely works fine. If you want to watch that video, check it out here. I just swapped over the SIM card to this phone. So far, everything's been fine. I'm going to go throughout the rest of the day and I will check in at the end of the day. This is the camera, very little dynamic range. You can see a little blown out back there. I'm having a little bit of a problem where when I call my wife on the first time, she's the only person I call, to be fair, but when I call her the first time, it just is not going through, and then the second time it does. It's not a big deal because she's the only person I call, but I can see this being a problem. I don't know if this is T-Mobile, the iPhone SE, I don't know what it is, but it's very consistent. It's happened to me 2 or 3 times today, and I don't know exactly how to fix it. Also, the front camera still sucks. It's 9 o'clock, and so far the phone has been excellent. My biggest complaint so far is just the call thing was weird, but everything else is working really well on the phone. The front camera isn't very good with video, but I don't know. I mean, capture the moment. If it doesn't look that great, it's fine. I mean, that's a better camera than what George Lucas shot the original Star Wars on. So if you're talking about like making a movie or something, obviously it's gonna matter more so how you use the camera and not what kind of camera you use. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow because this phone's been great. I feel like I'm not using it at all. The specs of the iPhone SE 2020 are as follows. It has a 4.7-inch Retina HD display, which means it has a very pathetic resolution of 1334 by 750, but a very good pixel density of 326 pixels per inch. It features an A13 Bionic chip and 3 gigabytes of RAM. It can go up to 256 gigabytes of storage. It only has a single rear camera and a single 7 megapixel front camera. The battery is allegedly rated up to 13 hours of video playback, but the battery size is only around 1800 milliamp hours. Day 2 was much like day 1. I have very little complaints. I am obviously a very light phone user, as you should be, but everything seems to be working very well. Text messages, taking pictures, everything. My biggest complaint is that there's no wide angle lens though. I never realized how much I used that on my iPhone 12 mini until I no longer had it. You can actually see in this shot right here just how close the camera feels to me due to the lack of the wide angle lens. All in all, day 2 was a complete success though. So it is day 3, and one of the biggest things I'm noticing is people complain about the battery life. My battery on this phone, you can see my battery on this phone is currently sitting at surface, which means it's not great. The maximum capacity is 79%. I'm working out, sorry I'm out of breath. It was last charged until full at 8:43 a.m., which is when I pulled it off the charger. It's 9:31 p.m. My phone has been on today for an hour and a half, and we are currently sitting right at 48%. So while a lot of people were having complaints about the battery life not being great, don't use your phone as much, and the battery life is perfectly fine. I'll go the entire day without charging it. I probably won't even charge it tonight, and I'll pop on the charger tomorrow morning when I start working, and it'll be completely fine. I have not noticed any problems with the battery at all. The phone is still killing it. Day 4, the phone is working great, camera's working great. I use it to check a few things while I'm working out, play music, connect to the AirPods, and use a Notes app, and it handles that with no problem. The only thing is that because the screen's so tiny, if I watch anything while I'm at the gym, it doesn't look as big as like a big phone, but I don't really care about that. The number 1 comment I got on the first video about this phone was that, hang on, let me make sure I don't hit anybody in the parking lot. Battery life sucks. So I haven't really used my phone too much today. I'm at like 42%. I'm going to drive somewhere and I have to have the maps open for 30 minutes. So I'm curious to see if maybe this will be one of the first days where the bad battery life actually affects me. Day 4 coming in hot. All right, so I just got back home from my little journey and my phone didn't make it. It got back home with 2%, so it kind of made it, but it's just, that's probably not good enough. I realized though, I don't think I charged it last night. That's actually not bad for 2 days worth of battery it actually dying. So it doesn't have the best battery life. The battery's tiny, but it did okay. As I get the opportunity to use these older phones and to have people ask me, what the heck even is that thing? I have begun to realize just how much we wrap our identity up in the phones we use. Buying the latest and greatest gives us a feeling that we are doing well, a feeling that we know we have the latest phone. And since Apple knows you want to feel like that, they give you subtle updates to let everyone know that you have the newest phone. Whether it be a notch or dynamic island, squared off corners, USB-C, or whatever, Apple wants your identity wrapped up in their products. So I'm out here working out right now, and a couple things I've noticed about the phone that I really, really like. It's definitely not pulling me in and sucking me in like the iPhone 10 was. I felt like the iPhone 10 was like so incredible that I was using it all the time. Whereas this, I feel like it's just sort of, I'm using it like a phone to make phone calls, maybe send some text messages, take a few pictures, manage YouTube, and that's it. And that's a wonderful thing. And another thing too is just like, you start to think about how these phones, the new phones, how they're designed, they're built to suck you in. So not only are you paying all this money, but they're built to suck you in. And the way Apple gets you sucked in is they sell you on a feeling. Let me explain. So I want to explain what I mean by that. Apple never really sells a phone. They sell a feeling, they sell an idea. Let's just look at some of their commercials. So if you look here, they show the cameras and then they show literally tens of thousands of lighting and many people working on set to get the picture. It's completely unrealistic. I mean, how many dollars worth of flowers are those? But it's like, well, if you have this phone, you can take pro photos just like this person. And then there's another part later on where they show the video capabilities, and yeah, like they might be good, but they have a whole crew of people, pro video. Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, there's a boom, there's 1, 2, 3 lights, there's the director's chair, there's a monitor. I mean, there's so much going on here, and it's like, well, if you buy this phone, you'll be able to shoot pro video. And I found one more commercial. Well, there's like a million commercials, honestly. They all do this. So when Apple sells something, they sell an idea. So they get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson out here to clip the tree. Like, look at this, look at this image. I mean, this is an Apple commercial. They're like, well, if you have an iPhone and you have a busy life, just like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you'll need to use Siri. That's what this whole commercial is, just him using Siri to be able to access his calendar, more or less. And that's it. Like, that's what they do. They don't sell you on the product, they sell you on the idea. And I think that that's way more powerful than the product. They never mention the specs, they never mention the megapixel of the camera, they never mention any of that stuff. What they do is they show somebody in the world that you want to aspire to be, and they show that person using the product that you don't have because it's $1,200 or whatever it may cost. And that's how they get you. So they convince you to buy these phones, these brand new phones, when this phone, this iPhone SE 2020, is more than capable, more than fine of running every single thing you possibly could ever need, but it doesn't look that good. It's not the new one. It doesn't have the notch. It doesn't have the little island, and that's the difference. That's how Apple gets you. And until you push back against that, they're always gonna win because they can tap into something much deeper than specs. They tap into like an idea, like a feeling. And that's why they're worth $3 trillion. Finishing up on day 7, I realized just how remarkable this phone is and will continue to be. It is a great phone, especially in the traditional sense, or at least the modern traditional sense. It takes solid photos, it takes decent videos, it can handle a phone call, it can send text messages, it can respond to email. It literally does it all. I realize more and more that people just want to convince themselves that they need more out of a phone, for whatever reason, to look cool, to buy something new. But for me, I'm happy with these older phones. I feel at home with these older phones. Of course, I've used this phone for well over the week at this point. If I didn't have a tech channel, I would just stick with this one because it just checks every single box for me. And if you're considering buying one, I would definitely suggest buying one unless you could save a few extra bucks and purchase an iPhone SE 2022. That way you get the extra 2 years of support. As for me, I will continue to use this phone until I swap over to that one because I just love how this phone doesn't pull me into it, doesn't force me to use it sort of like the iPhone 10 did. I'm really enjoying it. And the next phone up on the list is going to be that iPhone SE 2022. So thank you for watching. This has been Scott with Techno Eclipse. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.